All right. Well, at least Monored gets to do what it does best, starting the game.
Oh yeah, so that's a really, really big part here. Because like basically you're playing an aggressive deck, what you want to do is always hit your curve and especially be on the play. To put your opponent under as much pressure as you want as possible and get the game done as quickly as possible.
Do you remember how the beginner of the match was decided?
I think it was by standings before top 8.
Yeah.
And I think I wasn't all that high up there, so I think I was pretty much on the draw all the time for the first game at least.
Okay. Yeah. Because like that would be a sick advantage. I can't imagine any other deck wanting to start as much as you do.
Yes. I mean, it's always nice to start, like, also, especially with a tempo deck like Stefan's. Also with the starting hand that you can see right now with Young Pyromancer and Geist of Saint Draft. And
Yeah.
then back up Spell Pierce, tap some stuff, some card selection. That's especially where you want to be on the play as well. Although, on the other hand, you see this mono-red hand, and it has one land. It actually has 3 spells that it could play here, but yeah, this is a pretty easy mulligan. And I
And
think this is where this is also really important that we have to mention again that there is one free mulligan in Highlander that you can take, so you can mulligan back to 7 for the first time.
yeah.
And this is super important for the mono red deck as well, because sometimes you just get garbage hands like that, and you pretty much always want to have like the perfect start with going 1 top 2 top 3 drop and then burn them out with having some lands available.
Yeah.
And that's why this mulligan is super important for the deck as well.
Is there cards in your deck that you might not play if there wouldn't be a free mulligan?
Um, I'm not sure. Like, probably you would want to lower the curve, because there you just have to go for less variance and go like for more redundant 1 drops that always get the job done, and
Yeah.
less higher drops that you are usually able to hit because you can craft better hands with the free mulligan.
Mhm.
But this is also a change I think that I would make in general to the deck, even with the mulligan.
Yeah, I understand.
Because I think it doesn't make a huge difference, but it still is super important to have enough resources available and also, yeah, have the tools that you need.
So we see a very slow hand, as you just pointed out, the deck produces, unfortunately, too often. We also see a very old card in the middle there. What is that?
I actually don't recognize that artwork because I actually think that I played a different artwork in the deck. So I quickly had to check my deck list as well to maybe get a grasp.
I think it's called Donakaya or Thunder or something.
Ah,
Not.
yes, it might actually be Thunderbolt.
Yeah.
And I was actually playing the artwork from Everson Restored, I think. Or
So what
maybe I
does?
think there has been several. Anyway, this card deals either 3 damage to a player or 4 damage to a creature with flying.
Oh, interesting. That is good enough for the deck.
It is an instant speed burn spell that goes to the face that basically is just another lightning bolt that costs 2 mana when it comes to
Oh,
going to the face.
okay.
And sometimes you are shooting flyers with it as well. I think it didn't even came up once in the tournament. It always just went to the dome.
Ooh, here we see Ojuta's Command, a very potent spell against the mono red deck. Like
Yes, that is very.
imagine getting a creature counted and 4 life back.
Yes. And like while I really liked Ojutai's Command and Standard as well,
Mm.
just to have a way to counter stuff and provide card advantage, in this matchup the gaining life mode is. And guess
I
what? Stefan also didn't know the card.
Yeah, I played as 40 or 30. I
Yeah.
This is interesting. Look at the um the order he plays the spells. He has 2 mana. He could play the Pyromancer. He could have a Fire Ice open, but he decides to go for the Preordain and the Spell Pierce.
I'm actually also wondering why he didn't play the land first, because sure, you want to hit a white source here for Geist of Saint Draft, but it's totally fine to have that white source next to it.
And now this gives you the room for the Berserker. Bam! You see, haste,
Hit
super
you.
haste. Yeah. And this is really threatening.
Yes,
Like
because
all of
now
his,
every spell that he plays will deal damage to him.
yeah, not only that, all of a sudden it's not removable anymore. There's only
Yes,
two
the fire
damage.
doesn't even kill it, but the lightning bolt does.
Oh, of course. I
But
see what
still,
you.
like he would have to waste his turn here to just play the lightning bolt basically,
Yeah,
and he still takes damage from the berserker.
yeah. I think the reasoning is pretty smart that you say, okay, I have a spell pierce. If I preordain into a white source, I can play Geist on turn 3, and that probably closes the game fast enough.
And now, which is also interesting, he just goes for the Geist. He wants to raise me.
Oh, interesting, interesting. So he's not even concerned in saying, okay, well, I have to get rid of the 3/3 that deals another 5 damage to me at least, because if I want to remove it, it still deals damage. Ah, that is exciting. So you drew a Simian Spirit Guide, which
Yeah,
is
that was pretty much the garbage card of the deck. Because it didn't do anything at all besides being cast as a Grey Ogre once.
yeah. Like I imagine being a Grey Ogre is at least somewhat reasonable here.
But you
But
have the Boros Reckoner, which is way better at what it's doing here.
yeah, there's also like you have so many threats right now that also deal damage while being removed.
Yes, and like the sequencing here from the mono red part is also shows a little bit what I said before. Like this deck is kind of clunky. You have a lot
Yeah.
of 3 drops and even some 4 drops that you want to play. That's why the Simian Spirit Guide is in the deck in the first place.
Yeah,
But
okay.
as I said before, the Spirit Guide never did anything. And usually when the games go longer, you at some point hit your land drops, or you're dead anyway.
Yeah.
And that's why you don't want to really have like a 3-mana 2/2 that just is a 3-mana 2/2.
Well, yeah, if it gets a 3/3, that is perfect. But you can imagine that at this point of the game, your opponent will do something.
And usually you don't even play a 3-drop on turn 2 with the Spirit Guide, because
Mm.
usually you just have another 2-drop that you can play anyway,
Yeah.
and a land for the next turn to play your 3-drop afterwards.
Yeah, here we see now the Geist didn't really get where it wanted to.
Yes.
And you drew another 2-point burn spell. So let's do the math here. You have 3, 3, 4, another 6 from your creatures, plus not imagining a lot of damage that is being done by removing the creatures. So at this point in time, you must feel really, really happy.
Yes, yeah. This looks super good for me right now.
Okay, so this is gone. Stefan at 9.
And
tapping the
just tapping the Boros Reckoner here.
Which is, from his point of view, a pretty neat solution for the time being.
Yes.
Okay, so we know he also has Spell Pierce. And bam!
Bam! There it is. Grey Ogre.
You could have killed him, but you very wisely choose to not to, because it would have been just a disaster.
Yes. Yeah, the point is, Fire Blast you only want to use when you either really have to, or when you're really sure that it's going to resolve.
Yeah, because
like,
I mean...
Against non-blue decks, I would have killed him anytime here.
Yeah.
But against a blue deck that has mana available, even if it's just 1 mana, and there are spells like Spell Pierce, or even Spell Snare for one of the spells before that, you never want to go for the Fire Blast at this point.
And you know that with this board position, you have at least a few turns to play more burn spells, and maybe don't even need the Fire Blast, or get rid of some counter spells because you drew some burn spells. And I mean, actually, Simian Spirit Guide is something Stefan has to worry about.
Yes, which is
as weird as it sounds, but it at least makes your opponent play the Mantis Rider. And
but the Mantis Rider is actually a really interesting draw, because when he plays it, he still has the Spell Pierce available, and he should actually start attacking with the Geist at this point. Because if he hits here, he actually hits for 9 damage. He still has the Mantis Rider as a blocker because it has Vigilance.
Mm-hmm.
And he still has the Spell Pierce to counter any burn spell that goes to his face at that point. And the Mantis Rider makes the super good Simian Spirit Guide not able to attack.
Oh, sad.
The interesting part is that the Spirit Guide could just block the Geist of Saint Shaft.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point. Like, my common, which is worthless, kind of holds off your Geist of Sand draft. And also, there is a fetch land, so Stefan doesn't really have access to 5 mana without getting 1 damage. And as we've seen before, 1 damage can be everything. So here,
which is I think is pretty interesting because I actually chose to take the damage and not block the Geist because I think I needed the Sim Spirit Guide as an additional source of damage.
sure.
I'm not sure if this is the correct play.
Well, I can see the reason, because if you deal 3 damage, which you're now promised to do, then that actually is not the way I meant. But
But this is actually also a really interesting thing because first of all you get rid of the Mantis Rider, and
yeah.
second of all then the Spirit Guide actually starts attacking again.
But now you're getting your opponent to 4, which is not in range for the Lightning Strike. If you just attack and sacrifice your Spirit, you get him to 3, and then you can go Volcanic Hammer to the face, Lightning Strike to the face, and if this doesn't stick, then you can go Fire Blast.
Yeah. And actually this would not kill him with the fetch land. So
like right now
you would have to have double counterspell that.
Right now you also deprive him of the fetch land, which is nice. I mean, if you go Lightning Strike right now, which I think I would have done, then even Force doesn't help. So you play Lightning Strike, you spell pierces, and then you can Fire Blast because he can't fetch because he goes to 1.
Yes.
And
interestingly enough, the Fire Blast would have just killed him if I would have known his hand.
Yeah.
Because I had 2 mana available for the spell pierce, but I still think I'm in quite a good shape here. It is interesting that I'm actually going down to 5 life here if he attacks with the Geist of Sand.
Yeah, so there,
there would even be the possibility that if he has a flurry of burn spells, that would also kill me. But then again, he only has 1 red source. He would have to fetch for a second one to have 2 burn spells available, and this would leave me with 2 spells that would kill him at this point as well.
I mean, he still has maybe the advantage of some awkward timing. If he attacks, he has 6 mana and no blockers, but the Confluence bounces the 2 creatures, and maybe you play like a Ball Lightning before combat, just to make sure. Then all of a sudden, you dealt with 3 cards with 1 spell, and he still has the spell pierce.
Yes.
Because on the other side, if you stay back now, it's pretty hard to imagine how he's winning.
That's also true.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
So he attacks, getting you down to 5. Oh, this is close. And now we can gain 4 life. Unfortunately, we can't even get the Mantis Rider back with the Urge-Tize command because it's cost just 1 mana too much.
But this is actually exactly the point why I also really like playing Mono Red again. I have to state it again because there's so much things you have to think about. There's so much calculations that you have to do. You have to think what exactly your opponent can have, what you have to play around. And the fun part is if the Lightning Strikes resolves, then actually without the land, the Searing Blaze in my hand is possible. It's lethal as well on the Young Pyromancer. So he has to spell piece here.
Yeah, spell piece here. Get a token. Or, well, not. Which doesn't really matter. Like, at this point, your hand is so stacked that you can basically roll a die and do random things. Like Searing Blaze, tapping, 1, 3, 3, 4. Searing Blaze, yes.
Tap 2, Fire Blast.
Yeah, and at this point, Mono Red, what Mono Red does. And
I actually think he didn't get a token because I obviously fired off the Lightning Strike in response to the Pyromancer.
Oh, smart of you. Nice. So
timing is everything.
That is true. It is true. Okay. Well, exciting. 1-1. Let's see who wins in the final game of this semifinals.